executive session.
Yes, it's regarding the purchase of property. If you propose a motion that we execute a waiver of conflict with the firm of Thrasher and Margolin with regard to the purchase of property.
Any motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Bates?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Any other items of business coming out of the executive session?
You have to sign this first.
Yes. Move to open for discussion the purchase of property.
Second. Call vote, Mrs. DeTore?
Or can you just?
Oh, we're just opening for discussion.
Oh, okay.
All three.
All three.
I thought you each had a second one.
Okay,
All right.
just for discussion, is this what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes. Yeah, the piece of property we're bringing to the floor is the former Wicked Woods Golf Course, 180 acres in Burton and Newberry Township for discussion. And vote.
I do have a question within this. Previously, over the past few months, we had discussed with some of the assets that are coming along with this, a maintenance building and some equipment. Matt, you had mentioned that potentially we could have a savings for some of our other older equipment or buildings, et cetera. Do we still foresee a savings somewhere, or?
Yeah, I mean, the maintenance facilities at the golf course are in really good shape. So it gives us viable options. We have a few sort of long-term goals looking at our natural resource management department. They're kind of split between a few facilities so we could consolidate them into one area. And then also our construction crews kind of housed in our south operations, which is not as central to the rest of the county where they're kind of working all over. So between those two sort of groups, we would be able to use a viable option where they could be more central and utilize that facility. So that would save having to either construct something down the road or do improvements to one of our existing locations, either to add on or add electrical that we've discussed at one of our locations. So.
And even just travel time too, right?
Travel time too, it helps with mobilization because they're not going from sort of way down south all the way up. It's a little bit more central. It's near 87 and 44, so those are two major roads where you can get around pretty easily.
So right now they report to your location in the south, Swine Creek,
Construction crew.
and then they go off from there.
They go out from there, and then the natural resource management, actually, they go to Fisher Run and Burden Wetlands. They're kind of split between a couple spots where they have equipment. You guys even have some equipment, I think, up north sometimes too. So they're kind of bouncing around to different spots just to get their equipment before they go off to different locations.
So centrally located would actually increase efficiency,
Yeah, oh, definitely.
save time. Now, would you demolish any buildings that at those other locations that were? I mean, I'm assuming you won't be renovating.
Yeah, we would have to look at, I mean, kind of long-term. I know the garage you guys are housed in down at Burton Wetlands is kind of a small, it was a residential garage that was part of the house there. So, I mean, we would have to look at something kind of long-term planning-wise, what the best use of maybe some of the other areas might be, you know, for accessing that.
And the equipment list that comes along with this property, is this also helping? I mean, there's several mowers, things like that, correct? But is that also helping longevity? I mean, with the current mowers and things that we have now?
Yeah, I mean, equipment-wise, a lot of the equipment is similar to what we use. I think they have some smaller, like, ATV vehicles and that. So those are all things we could use. The mowers we have to look at depending on sort of, you know, long-term, you know, initially they could be used for maintenance of the property, and then long-term, if we would need them, depending on which direction we go with that.
We have a list of the equipment, but we don't have hours. So I'd like to see the ages there's some nice equipment here. And that's all included in the purchase price.
Yes.
From a naturalist standpoint, biological, the biology of the area and so forth, how does this purchase benefit the park district or just our overall mission?
You want me to do that?
Sure, I can take that. So over the course of, I got to spend about 2 days out there looking at the property this past summer. And it does benefit, number one in my mind is really just water quality. So the Cuyahoga River runs through there, West Branch, and it's actually a very high quality section of the Cuyahoga. Anything we can do as far as taking land out of what I would consider impacting water quality, chemicals, things like that are applied to golf courses, and it's a pretty well-known fact in that regard, is a good thing, I think, for the river itself. There is cold water habitat on the property too. There are cold water fed springs that come out of the hillsides and feed into the Cuyahoga, so that was a plus in my mind. And there's forest habitat there as well, and spring seeds, and so there's a number of interesting habitats. Restoration-wise, it's going to be, will be a somewhat of a long endeavor like we're doing with Orchard Hills, but they're well worth it. A number of other conservation organizations have gotten onto the bandwagon of restoring and taking back golf courses and making them into more natural areas, including Metro Park, Summit Metro Parks.
Will we suspend the use of any kind of herbicides? And I don't know, they use pesticides on these types of properties?
No, well, they did. I mean, they use fungicides, pesticides, herbicides. Certainly fungicides and pesticides probably, or insecticides, I would say. We wouldn't need any of those. Herbicides, yes, if we're worried about invasive species control on the property, which is a huge
To the
concern.
degree that they've been using them to date, or would you be reducing?
It would be a huge reduction, yeah. And fertilizer, all those things that, result in poor water quality.
Do you foresee the opportunity for any grant dollars here?
It's possible, yeah. I mean, there are a number of organizations we've worked with in the past for habitat restoration funding, invasive plant work funding, native meadow establishment, they pay for seed, things like that. So yeah, there are a couple of conservation groups that come to mind that would probably be worth our while to pursue.
As we move forward with a very, very significant purchase for the park district, what are your, there's 3 people sitting here that are the main crew that are out there doing the work of maintaining the properties. I know you got your office staff here too, but I'd like from the 3 people that are out there on the road, out there in the field, what are your thoughts on acquiring this piece of property?
Yeah.
3 guys right there.
I think any property that we can preserve for future generations is a great thing. Like Paul was mentioning, there's a substantial bit of restoration, transforming it from a golf course back into a natural habitat. But I think the benefit for future generations and the type of programs, Paul mentions, I haven't been to the property except golfing several years ago, but the opportunity to get kids down to the river, that's as having a good water quality access is always a plus too.
And I think, to Paul's point on the restoration efforts, it's very similar. We were kind of at the forefront with Orchard Hills a few years back, so it's kind of a very similar approach there, where I think there's a great opportunity to really, take a highly maintained environment and transition to more of a long-term sustainable environment, which again, when you look at the streams running through the site and that, it's it's a great property just in general from a visual standpoint as far as people coming out and biking and that. So there's a lot of opportunity there to add a great piece of property to the park district.
Another thing that's nice about it, there will be planning that goes into future park development, and in many ways it's turnkey, so